Sometimes you look at others and feel sad because you think they are better, and that can hurt your heart. You want to feel proud of yourself, but it is hard when you always compare. Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm happy you are here with me today. Let me tell you a story about stop comparing yourself to others. Jake sits on a bench in the park, watching people walk by. He sees a man running fast, a woman laughing with her friends, and a little boy showing his new toy to his mom. Jake looks down at his old shoes and feels a bit sad. He thinks, why is everyone doing better than me? He remembers his friend Sam, who always gets good grades and has cool clothes. Sometimes Jake wishes he could be more like Sam, but then he remembers something his dad told him. His dad said, everyone is different, and that's okay. Jake starts to notice the things he likes about himself, like his kindness and his love for drawing. And here's the interesting part. As Jake thinks about these things, he starts to feel a little better. He smiles and decides to draw a picture of the park. The sun feels warm on his face, and he feels proud of his drawing. For a moment, he forgets about comparing himself to others and just enjoys being himself. A little later, Jake's friend Emma comes over and sits next to him on the grass. She looks at his drawing and smiles, saying she likes the colors he uses. Jake feels happy to hear this, and he shows her the trees and birds in his picture. Emma says she also wants to draw, but she is not sure if her drawing will look good. Jake remembers how he felt before, so he tells her, just have fun and draw what you like. Emma starts to draw with Jake, and they laugh when a squirrel runs close to their feet. Jake watches Emma's drawing, and he notices it looks different from his, but it is still nice. He realizes that everyone has their own style, and that is what makes things interesting. For a short time, they both draw and talk, not thinking about being better or worse than anyone else. As the sun begins to set, Jake looks at their drawings. He feels calm and proud, not just because of his picture, but because he helped a friend feel happy too. They pack up their pencils, and Jake thinks, it's okay to be myself. And it's more fun when I do things my own way. On the walk home, Jake and Sarah talk about their favorite parts of the day. Sarah says she liked drawing the big tree with the funny birds. And Jake smiles because he remembers how she laughed when a squirrel ran across their blanket. The air feels cool now, and the city lights start to glow. They both feel tired, but in a good way. When Jake gets home, his mom asks him how his day was. He tells her about the park, the drawings, and how Sarah felt sad at first. Jake says, I learned something important today. His mom listens closely, and Jake explains that he doesn't need to be like anyone else, because his own ideas are special. She gives him a big hug, and Jake feels warm inside. Later that night, Jake puts his drawing on his wall. He looks at it and remembers the fun he had, not worrying about making it perfect or better than Sarah's. Honestly, he feels proud just for trying and for being a good friend. As he gets ready for bed, Jake thinks, tomorrow is a new day, and I can just be me. The next morning, Jake wakes up early. Sunlight comes into his room, and he sees his drawing on the wall. He smiles a little, remembering how he felt yesterday. There is no rush, so he takes a moment to enjoy the quiet. It feels good to start the day without any worries. At school, Jake sees Sarah in the hallway. She waves at him and walks over, holding her notebook. They talk about the art class and laugh about the paint that got on their hands. Jake notices that Sarah is not worried about her drawing now. She is just happy to talk with him. He feels more relaxed, and the day seems easier. During lunch, Jake sits with his friends, and they all share stories about their morning. Someone shows a funny picture, and everyone laughs. Jake realizes that everyone is different, but that is what makes things interesting. He feels happy just being himself, and he does not need to compare or feel less than anyone else. After school, Jake walks home with his friend Sam. They talk about their favorite games and what they want to do this weekend. Sam says he is not very good at soccer, but he loves to play because it is fun. Jake smiles and tells Sam that he is good at drawing and that everyone has something special. For a moment, they both feel proud of what they like. Later at home, Jake sits at his desk and starts drawing a picture of his day. He draws his friends laughing at lunch and himself with a big smile. His little sister, Emma, comes in and looks at the picture. She says it looks great and that she wishes she could draw like him. Jake tells her that everyone is good at something, and she can try drawing too. And here's the interesting part. Emma picks up a pencil and starts to draw next to Jake. They laugh together when Emma's cat looks funny, but they both feel happy. Jake sees that sharing what you love with others feels even better than trying to be the best. Now he knows that being yourself is enough. The next day at school, Jake feels different. He walks into art class and sees his friends working on their drawings. This time, he does not look at their papers to compare. He just sits down and starts his own picture, feeling calm. For the first time, he is not worried about being better than someone else. Jake's teacher, Mrs. Thomas, comes by and looks at his work. She smiles and says, "I can see you really enjoy drawing today." Jake feels proud because he knows he is trying his best, not because his drawing is perfect. He looks at his friends and sees they are smiling too. It feels good to be part of the group, just being himself. After class, Emma walks with Jake to the playground. She tells him she likes his drawing of the big tree. Jake laughs and says, "Thanks, I just wanted to draw something that makes me happy." Emma nods and says, "That's the best way." They both run to play, feeling light and free. For Jake, the day feels brighter, and he is excited for tomorrow. The next morning, Jake wakes up early because he feels excited to go to school. He eats his breakfast quickly, then grabs his backpack, ready for the day. On the way to school, he remembers Emma's words about drawing for happiness, and he smiles. The sun is shining, and Jake feels good, like anything is possible. At school, Jake sees a new art project on the wall. Some kids are standing around looking at each other's pictures. For a moment, Jake feels a little nervous because some drawings look bigger or more colorful than his. But honestly, then he remembers how his tree made him feel happy, and he takes a deep breath. He decides to enjoy his own picture, not worry about the others. During art class, the teacher asks everyone to share their drawings. Jake shows his tree, and he talks about why he chose it. He says he likes trees because they grow in their own way, and each one is special. The teacher smiles, and a few kids nod, so Jake feels proud. He looks at Emma, and she gives him a big thumbs up. After class, Jake and Emma walk outside together. The sun is warm, and the air feels fresh, so they both feel happy. Emma tells Jake she liked his drawing a lot, and she says his tree looks strong and different from the others. Jake smiles. But then he remembers something. He thinks about how he always compares his art to Tom's, because Tom is really good at drawing cars and animals. Emma notices Jake is quiet, so she asks if something is wrong. Jake says he sometimes wishes his pictures looked like Tom's, because Tom's drawings always get a lot of attention. But honestly, then Emma says, Everyone has their own style, and that's what makes art interesting. She reminds Jake about his tree and how it was his idea, not anyone else's. Jake starts to feel better because he understands his drawing is special in its own way. As they walk home, Jake looks at the trees along the street. No two trees look exactly the same, but each one is beautiful. He thinks about how he can keep drawing things he likes, instead of worrying about other people's work. The wind blows gently, and Jake feels a little lighter, like he is growing too, just like the trees. When Jake gets home, he sits at his desk and takes out his sketchbook. He remembers a funny bird he saw at the park last week, and he decides to draw it. His lines are quick and a little messy, but he smiles because the drawing looks happy. He doesn't think about his friend Sam's perfect pictures now, only about the silly bird. His little sister Emma comes into the room and sees the drawing. She laughs and says the bird looks like it is dancing. Jake feels proud, even though the picture is not perfect. He shows Emma more of his sketches, and they both giggle at the funny faces and shapes. It feels good to share his art without feeling worried. And then Jake has an idea. He asks Emma if she wants to draw something together. They sit side by side, each with a pencil, and start to make a big picture. There are flowers, dogs, and even a tiny house with smoke coming from the chimney. Jake feels happy because he is making something special with his sister, and it doesn't matter if it looks like anyone else's drawing. While they draw, Emma looks at Jake and laughs. She says, "Your dog has really long ears." Jake laughs too and says, "Well, your house looks like it might fly away in the wind." They both smile, because their picture is funny and a little bit silly. For a moment, they forget about trying to be perfect. After a while, their mom comes into the room and sees the drawing on the table. She says, "Wow, this is wonderful. I love how you work together." Jake feels proud, and Emma does too, because they made something as a team. It's not just about the picture, it's about the time they spend together. And here's the interesting part. Jake doesn't think about Sarah's drawing anymore. He only thinks about the fun he has with Emma. He realizes it's okay to be different, because everyone has their own style. Now he wants to draw more, just for himself. One afternoon, Jake sits at the kitchen table with his pencils and paper. The sun shines through the window, and he feels calm. He starts to draw a big tree with a swing, just like the one in his backyard. He doesn't worry about making it perfect, he just enjoys the colors and shapes. Sometimes he laughs when his lines look funny, but he keeps going. Emma comes over and watches him draw for a minute. She smiles and says, "I like your tree, Jake, it looks happy." Jake grins, feeling proud. He shows her the swing, and she says she wants to play on a swing like that. They talk about their favorite places to play, and Jake feels good because he can share his ideas. So instead of thinking about who is better, Jake enjoys the time with his friend. He draws what makes him smile, not what he thinks others want to see. And then in that moment, he understands that being himself is the best part of drawing. The next day at school, Jake sees a new art contest on the wall. The sign says everyone can join, and the winner will get some new paints. Jake feels a little nervous, but he remembers how happy he felt drawing for himself. He decides to join the contest, not to win, but just to have fun. Jake sits at his desk and starts his drawing. He draws his dog, Max, playing in the garden because that is his favorite memory. Some kids look at his paper and whisper, but Jake doesn't worry about them now. He smiles, thinking about Max running in the grass, and he keeps going. The picture is not perfect, but it feels special to him. When Jake finishes, he looks at his drawing and feels proud. He knows he did his best, and that is enough. Later, his teacher, Mrs. Brown, walks by and stops to look. She says, "I love how happy your dog looks, Jake." Jake feels a warm feeling inside because he drew something true to himself, and that is what matters most. Thank you for listening today. It was great to talk with you. Everyone learns at their own speed, so keep going and you learn more than you think.